This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome this Remanufacturing webinar. I'm very glad to notice that this topic has gained good interest. We have more than 80 registered people in this webinar. So welcome. This webinar is organized by a CARET project. I'm Jouko Heikkilä, coming from VTT Research Center from Finland. And the other partners of the project are Grenoble INP, an Institute of Engineering and Management at University Grenoble Alps, and Technical University of Delft, and Metso Autotech Company. This project has been funded by EIT Raw Materials, which is an activity which has received funding from European Union. In this webinar, we focus and tell you about remanufacturing, and especially CARET remanufacturing bootcamps. In these bootcamps, we will learn and prepare to build remanufacturing business and operations. These bootcamps are aimed for companies and professionals. This is today's program. In the beginning, we introduce you remanufacturing, what it is in general. Then after that, we introduce you how we have used Miro. That is a tool which has been used as a platform for CARET bootcamps. With that, we have some company experience about bootcamps. Anita van der Brugge from ASA Abloy, we will give some comments related to the bootcamps that has been arranged with them. Then we have this CARET bootcamp examples. Each partner has organized bootcamps with companies, and we will give you some examples how we have done it. Then we still have a company presentation, the actual experience of how a company has done the remanufacturing and what experiences they have had. So we have a presentation from Rico in Industry France, Xavier Battinger. Near the end of the program, we have an exercise reserved for you, so you will practically also work for something related to remanufacturing. David Beck from Technical University of Delft will lead that part. And we have also reserved time for Remand Council, David Fitzsimmons, to say some words about how companies could continue work with remanufacturing, also together with within the Remand Council. And finally, David Beck will close the webinar. So let's go forward in the program. I will now show you a video that we have made in this project, and it will introduce you remanufacturing, what the remanufacturing is.
In 2019, the world generated an incredible 53.6 million tons of e-waste, an average of 7.3 kilograms per capita. Recycling activities are not keeping pace with the global growth of e-waste, and the fate of 80% of e-waste generated is uncertain. E-waste is just one example of the enormous waste streams of products and components that are now left unutilized. Recycling has always been considered to be the only way to make use of this large amount of waste. There are several possible strategies when thinking about how to close the loop in the circular economy: reuse, repair, and remanufacture. Remanufacturing consists of extending the life of products and components that have reached the end of their use cycle. Remanufacturing is an important strategy of the circular economy, an approach that highlights value regeneration loops. In other words, remanufacturing recaptures the value-added component of a product, leading to additional useful lives rather than being incinerated, landfilled, or destroyed in the recycling process. How does remanufacturing work? It is a process that involves collecting the product from the users, dismantling and cleaning, restoring or replacing any damaged components, recoating or painting, then testing the reassembled product. This process produces a remanufactured product at a level of performance and quality that is identical or even superior to that of an original product. What are the advantages of remanufacturing? Remanufacturing offers benefits for the environment, for business, and for the customers. It avoids many of the phases necessary for the manufacture of a new product. It makes it possible to recover all of the materials, especially critical raw materials, using significantly less energy. It yields higher resource efficiency, reduces waste and emissions. It facilitates higher profit margins, creates skilled and local jobs, and leads to improved customer relationships. For customers, it offers a competitive price, 20 to 40% lower than the price of an original new product, and a higher availability with no compromise on quality. How can you apply and develop remanufacturing in your company? You can organize a cared bootcamp to support you. The skills and knowledge of companies, particularly SMEs, that practice manufacturing or seek to develop remanufacturing needs to be developed. An educational bootcamp concept for companies that would like to develop and launch remanufacturing activities is now available. Cared Bootcamp is a working session run by professional instructors at the company. The Cared Bootcamp addresses companies' training needs when starting remanufacturing. It allows participants to identify their firm's own competence development paths and to design innovative remanufacturing business models. With the help of the Cared Toolbox, the participants can start to design their company's remanufacturing business. They can identify feasible product in the company's portfolio that is then studied during the bootcamp. They are also able to identify challenges and opportunities for launching the remanufacturing activity in terms of process, product design, and the business model. The bootcamp concept and materials have been developed and evaluated in the CARED project. CARED stands for Catalyze Remanufacturing Through Design Bootcamp. It is an EU EIT raw materials lifelong learning project, which involves 4 partners.
Now we will go to the practical examples how we actually have organized and what have we done in these current bootcamps. Each of our project partners have organized bootcamps with companies, and we will start with Technical University of Delft. And I will now give floor to David Beck from TU Delft and Anita van der Brugge from ASA Abloy Entrance Systems.
So producer, manufacturer, and sales company in overhead sectional doors, high-speed doors, revolving doors, sliding doors, or all types of doors. And in the Netherlands, we have our factory in Heerhugowaard, and we are focusing on getting all these linear processes circular along the way, and that's quite difficult because we are a multinational with headquarters in Sweden, and well, the Netherlands is pushing this a bit harder than the other countries. So yeah, it's challenging. And then yeah, remanufacturing is a very interesting topic for us. So I was approached by TU Delft to see if we can run this bootcamp, and I think I said yes immediately. And the great thing was that all managers I asked to join said yes too, because everyone saw the relevance of this topic. And funny thing was that I asked one of the managers if he would like to join, and he said, "Anita, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. It's relevant, so we have to do this. Stop asking if it's nice or if we like it, because it's super relevant to do it this way." So then we had the boot camp. I think it was 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thanks, Anita. And I'll stay on the line because I'll keep asking questions or making comments and calling you in. If everybody now, what we're doing now is we're looking at the area where it says number 1 TU Delft, and the panels and the boards there. That's where we're looking at. And what we're going to walk through is, for example, the experience that Assa Abloy had, and I'll use them as a case example. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about any details that we discussed because that's commercially confidential, but I will talk about what sort of thing we did and what sort of thing we talked about, and what sort of things we found, and just to give a feeling of what we did and how we experienced. Like we said already, VTT and Grenoble are also going to explain what they did. And the nice thing is we did slightly different things in different ways with the same theme of remanufacturing. So as Anita's already explained, we had pre-meetings to prepare the company for the boot camp. I think we had 2 or 3 meetings actually, I can't remember, to discuss in detail. Yeah, we did, didn't we? 2 or 3 meetings to discuss in detail what the company wanted, who was going to be there, some of the issues that the company might have, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, strategic. One important thing we did was we chose a product line from the company that would be interesting to explore remanufacturing with. Now, that was super important because obviously, whilst we know a little bit about Assa Abloy door systems, we don't know anything like the level of detail and knowledge that Anita has and her colleagues, because that's their product. So they worked with us to choose that product, and we selected a particular door system which we thought together would be useful as a discussion basis. If you look on the board area that I'm talking about, if you go right to the top, you'll see a board and it says Lindner. By the way, that was another company we did a boot camp with. So, but we used the same type of drivers and questions that all the companies wanted to explore. So in our case, why should Assa Abloy, why should Lindner, why should Ecor, why should they go circular? And there was a couple of big areas that we saw. One was risk mitigation and the other is business opportunity. And of course, they're both really important things. Yes, of course, risk mitigation is important for every company. But how do I say, in business, risk mitigation tends not to get people so excited because they're often things you have to do. They can be cost things, they can be inconvenience. It's like, oh, we have to do this. It's not exciting. Whereas business opportunity, of course, for any for-profit company is exciting. It's like, yeah, that's why we come into work every day. We look for business opportunity. So we tried to get a balance of the 2 areas. And you see there lists of the sort of things we were talking about, because I would highlight in terms of risk mitigation materials. And it's out of scope for today, but one of my specialisms is critical materials. And that, for example, cropped up with some of the companies. Critical materials was an issue, but supply of materials, and because we know with the situation in Europe right now, supply of things can be challenging. But also business opportunity, and we again, you see top of the list there, customer demand, maintaining, being a front runner, new relations, new customers. These types of things are really important. And then from both those areas, risk mitigation and business opportunity, we split out into two areas, and this was part one and part two. One was the tech questions, and number one, and this is true for all the companies, was safety. And that's understandable. There's no way any remanufacturing company wants to release product onto the market that is not safe. And reliability goes hand in hand with safety. Obviously, if something's not reliable, it's often unsafe. Then materials, you can see there, and skills and knowledge, partners, new design, logistics. These types of things were examples of the tech or operations related questions. And then the second part was business questions around costs and revenues. What was interesting, I think is true to say, Nita, with us at Upload, the business side became really important as we discussed it through, didn't it?
Yes, we are often only focusing on the technical questions, and it was great that you reminded us that we also need to drive business.
Yeah, exactly. And that was true of all the companies as well. By the way, you weren't special in us at Upload. The other companies we worked with all suddenly said, you know what, if there's not a business reason, there's not a business practicality as why we're doing this, it's not going to work. Because obviously if you're losing money doing something, it's going to stop. It doesn't last long. So we definitely looked at that. Now, excuse me, I need to keep an eye on the time. I think I'm doing okay. I have a few more minutes, that's good. What we did is in the exercises, if you go, you can see how with the blue dots on the main screen, you can see the timings that we used, and we did the little round table exercise that you saw, and you can see here that the asset upload, I'll put it back into place because somebody moved it. And that's nice, people can move things around. You can see how we had the lecture exercise, and we used, that's an example of one of the slides that we had in the PowerPoint presentation. And then we went to the main board, and the main board is the big board in the middle. And most of you will recognize, if you don't know it, but I think you'll recognize that is the business model canvas from Osterwalder et al. We didn't invent anything special here, we just used the standard business model canvas. And we worked around in the standard way. And then what the participants were able to do would be, we'd start off, go, what's your value proposition? And people would come along, and as I'm doing now, stick a sticky note up and go, the value proposition is product, for example, which we just talked about in the video. You saw that in the video. And then everybody had a chance to put up their post-its all around here. And then Juan very kindly tidied them all up. Oops. Moved them into the right place on the board and made them a bit smaller because they're too big. There we go. And then what happened was, you can imagine with 5 or 10 people, it doesn't take long before that center box on value proposition is really busy with sticky notes. Then we went on to customer segments. Bear in mind, all the while at this first stage, we're talking a lot about the tech questions. Channels, customer relationships, that's getting a little bit more business side. Then we went over to the other side, key activities, key resources, key partnerships. And we went through creating sticky notes around each one of these question areas with the different areas, tidying them up, putting them in the middle, moving them around, putting them where we like, people making comments on them as they went along. Then we had a short break. By the way, you can see all this on the far left-hand side because you can see the agenda we used. And then we went through costs and revenues, the much more business and financial side. And that was really interesting. People had to really think, yeah, where are we going to get money from for this? Where are we going to find costs? I think one of the things that happened in all 3 of the boot camps that we did was I was pushing for people to think, I think I would fair to say, much bigger than perhaps they'd started off with thinking about. Would you agree with that, Anita?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember the conversations. It's kind of like I was going, hey, what about a Reman center costing 40 to 100 million euros? And everyone, whoa, Dave, what have you gone crazy? And I was like, well, maybe, but you know, if you're going to have a vision, and maybe we can think about that over time. Of course, you can't build a new center and seek investment for 100 million euros, or 40 million or 10 million. They're big numbers and they're big things which a company has to think long and hard and carefully about. And of course, we understand that. But one of the things, you helped us with this, Anita, as well. You asked the participants, the managers, and bear in mind they were all from different parts of the business, marketing and sales and logistics and operations and design and all sorts of areas. But you said to them, or we said to them, can you think about your key performance indicators? Can you put down something specific and tangible? Can you say, in 2021, we will do this activity by this date? And that went into the board where you see on the bottom right-hand side of my area, key takeaways. There was all kinds of activities that people then posted up notes. So I'll give an example. Yeah. And so people were going, I will buy X, do Y with Z. So you can sort of get the idea that people were saying, I will do this. And that was quite powerful, because often what happens in workshops and boot camps is people sit there and go, yeah, and I've been really busy. And I did all kinds of things and I said all kinds of stuff. But that's good, that's job done, because on Monday next week, I can just carry on business as usual. And nothing happens. And because for any manager and instigator of activity, that's quite frustrating. So there was a bit of commitment of people to do things. And all the 3 companies that we worked with, everyone did this. They committed to doing things. And that can include as well, and I think we talked about this, opportunities of working with TU Delft, for example, but other partners as well and other knowledge partners to take them forward in the future. I think I've used all my time up because I need to leave time for my other colleagues to speak as well. Was there any final thing you wanted to add, Anita?
No, thanks again for helping us further, and I will inform you about our next steps. And yeah, it was great working with you guys.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was a fun experience as well. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Actually, I got a buzz afterwards, which is always good when something's fun. Good. I'm going to stop. I think I hand over now to Yoko. And what you need to do on the board is move away from the TU Delft area and go over to the number 2, where it says VTT. And then there is a lime green sticky in the middle where it says click here to enter VTT's bootcamp example. And then when you click on that, it pulls out a little meeting sphere link, and that should take you into a pop-out. I'm doing it myself, so you can see on the screen what it looks like. And then I can, meeting sphere, I can join the meeting. This is where I wonder if my computer is going to fall over because I've got so many things open, but we'll see. It seems to be working. We'll see. It seems to be working okay so far.
Okay.
Good, hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you, David. If you still make the window a little bit bigger, so perhaps full screen at this time. So, but everyone else, please click click the link and go in the meeting sphere. Quite many already are there. So our approach, or let's say procedure, the overall procedure. Procedure to arrange a boot camp, or actually this whole concept of developing and helping companies to improve or start the remanufacturing. The overall procedure is quite similar to what David already said, and we naturally look different topics related to remanufacturing, what is needed to take into account when you are starting remanufacturing. So typical program of the bootcamp itself would be introduction on the key aspects of the remanufacturing, then looking for the different products and their manufacturability, looking for the delivery chain, business models and production models, what kind of models should be developed for remanufacturing and could be used there, and then information management in remanufacturing. And in this presentation, I focus only one part of this, of these whole topics. So, namely the examination of the product remanufacturability. And in this phase, we look for the products and different criteria or different aspects related to that. We are looking for the reusability of the end of life products, how much you could still reuse of the product when it has got its end of life and could be get back to the company manufacturer. We look for easiness of remanufacturing, effects which starting remanufacturing would have on the delivery times. In many cases, the effect is positive. Environmental impacts of remanufacturing compared to manufacturing, product variations. If there are very many variations in the products, then that might cause some problems or at least ineffectiveness for remanufacturing, and we should look how to solve those. And then logistics, arranging logistics, what kind of challenges there could be, and also what kind of benefits remanufacturing actually could give to logistics. So in this phase, we are looking for the company product portfolio, and our main question is which product would be the best for the remanufacturing to start with. That's at least one approach for the company starting remanufacturing. And now I will give you opportunity to try this, what we have done with this tool, just in the first phase, looking for the remanufacturability of different products. We have selected 3 products: electric kickboard, diesel engine, or laptop computer. Well, perhaps there is not a company which would manufacture all of these, but let's imagine that these are the what you should select from. And then we have picked only 2 criteria: the easiness to remanufacture, which includes dismantling, cleaning, checking, and repairing. And another criteria are the environmental effects of remanufacturing compared to the original manufacturing. So now I'm moving to another page so that you can now give your answers this question. So the first question is that you should select the best of these projects related to easiness to remanufacturing, dismantling, cleaning, checking, repairing. Just click the box on the right, and if you want, you could also explain why you think this is best for your opinion. So I give you a few, let's say a minute to do this. Don't think too much, because this is not testing your knowledge. It's just testing this approach and giving you an experience on it. Okay, we have got some answers, so we can move forward. Let's take another question. The second one is about, concerning the environmental impacts. What do you think? Okay, and then we can go and look for the results. So here you can see the results. You can see that most of you think that the electric scooter could be best for both criteria. This is of course only the start for the work. So the next question is, do we agree? In this case, well, more or less we agree, but we should still talk about why is that we don't fully agree. So and there you should look the comments you have written and start to discuss different aspects of the related to this criteria. Another thing was it clear, this evaluation, and on the base of that we should think what additional information we should still try to find out in order to make a final decision on the what product we actually will start to remanufacture. And finally, you can't see it in the screen, but you can see it in the meetings where the question is what kind of actions we should do prior we can select the actual product for manufacturing. What kind of information we should still need, what kind of decisions we should take. So in general, this is the approach, and in this phase, looking for the remanufacturability of the different products and selection of the best one for the company. And of course, you can still look the graphical representation of the results. So you can see there that in this view, there's quite clear difference between this electric scooter and diesel engine laptop in your opinion. But this is how we start the examination of the remanufacturability, and then together with people from the company looking forward, looking how the it should be more precisely examined, and this raises the questions for this discussion. So this is, I have also used my time, and this is about what I plan to say. So thank you, and then we go forward, and I will give you could go back to the Miro board, please. I will close this for you, and I give floor to the Helmi, who explain the Grenoble INP approach and what they have done.
Just for navigation for everybody back on the board, you need to go to the top area where it says number 3, Grenoble.
Yeah, so in the center, so I try to put a mind map of our experience. So you see there are 4 branches. So the first branch on the left, so representing the bootcamps that we organized in Grenoble ENP. So in this project, I'm involved with Peggy Zolonsky, who is with us, and she's very welcome to comment and to add if she wants. So we ran 2 bootcamps with the company, working in the kitchen utensils in France. With this company, we were tied with the confidential agreement, so we are not allowed to say who is this company and what was the product on which we worked. But with this company, we had a first short bootcamp with 2 people, only 2 people from the company, the the head of the research and development department, and a person on working on sustainability. So it was an opportunity, a short meeting to know each other, to know what are the objectives of the companies, and to know also their strategy in terms of sustainability and in terms of remanufacturing projects, and also to present what we could deliver in a more longer bootcamp with different peoples. So it was really interesting, and it was surprising for us to know that the company already started a remanufacturing process. They already identified a product on which they would like to start and to launch remanufacturing. The company has been interested in sustainability and circular economy since some time, and they start to think about remanufacturing. So during a second bootcamp, so if you can zoom in on the small rectangle, yes, the agenda. So thank you, Yuko. So in this more extensive bootcamp, we had 10 people with us from the company, with different skills, with different coming from different departments, from design, from marketing, from sustainability department, from quality management, and they we presented to them, let's say, the main concepts of remanufacturing. Some of them already are being familiar with this topic, and then we skipped the step of selecting a product. They already have a product in mind, and they already started to think about. And we ran with them two exercises with two tools that I will come to that later in my speech. And the tools were have the objective to help the people, the professional in the room, to think about the product that the product that is concerned by remanufacturing, its design issues, the process of remanufacturing itself, but also to look on business models issues, logistical issues, how to collect all the product from the users. So we are dealing with kitchen utensils, so there is specificity of acceptability from the customers to use an old, between brackets, an old product which was remanufactured. So it was really interesting and really challenging for us, because as in opposition to the experience of our colleagues, our partners, for us it was a company who are really starting remanufacturing before we came with them and before making contact. So they already start making some progress, and we try to help them by driving the discussion and drive attention to some key issues in remanufacturing in terms of business models. And the last bootcamp, if you can go down, Yuko, thank you, was with a network of companies and researchers. So EcoSD is an NGO in France, which is so a network for eco-design and sustainable development. Is a network of companies and researchers and universities collaborating together on different topics, but the main umbrella is sustainability. And remanufacturing is something that makes sense for them, but there are few initiatives in terms of remanufacturing. So we run this year in October a virtual bootcamp using different tools. So if you can go to the left, Yuko. So we used very classical tools nowadays. Everyone is familiar with video conferences and Zoom and document sharing. And the agenda was to first of all to present the theoretical content of the bootcamp, and then to give a presentation of different possible case studies. So if you go to the second, sorry, the third branch, Yuko, yes, case studies. So as it is a network of people, so they are not from one company, one organization, we propose to them, we prepared beforehand different case studies with learning materials, with sometimes video, sometimes PDF description, and we propose to them to imagine that they work on this organization and they would like to remanufacture the product. So we prepared a case study with Caterpillar. Caterpillar has a long experience in remanufacturing. Another case study in the automotive industry. Case study with the Envy, which is an organization collecting old product and refurbishing old product, and they started remanufacturing activity in wheelchairs and other medical equipment, and also in the building sector. And so they were split in groups, and many of the groups contains people from different organizations, and they think together on the topic on that case study. And we had a group of 3 people coming from one company. Fortunately, it was by luck that we have 3 people coming from a car manufacturer, a French car manufacturer, which allows them to work on their own cases. So they think about they thought about the case of remanufacturing a car component in an electrical car. Okay, so these are 2 different experience. In terms of tools, the tools that we used. Yes, if you can zoom in on the second branch. So we used three main tools. Obviously, the theoretical knowledge should be delivered with a presentation. So we prepared presentation on remanufacturing, on key concept of remanufacturing, with a focus on 3 key features of remanufacturing: the product design. Remanufacturing sometimes involves changing the design of a product to be easily remanufacturable. The process of remanufacturing, what are the processes that should be involved in terms of dismantling, cleaning, checking, controlling the parts and the components, and the business model, what should be set in terms of business, in terms of the logistics, in terms of reverse logistics, to collect our product and to deal with the acceptability of customers. So these were the key concept of the presentation. And the 2 tools, practical tools that we used. First one, so these 2 tools actually are coming from another remanufacturing project in which we were all together, all the partners involved, which show us the continuity between this kind of initiative, this kind of European project. This tool is a Reman process map. So it's a tool that we use with a professional in order to try to identify what kind of activities and what are the stakeholders that should be involved in each step of remanufacturing. So it's a very visual tool. Usually in a normal bootcamp, in real bootcamp, we print this document in a big sheet of paper, and then people can put sticky notes, can write down their ideas in terms of what should be done in terms of disassembling, what should be done in terms of collecting all product, what should be done in terms of controlling, checking who are the partners to be involved, and so on. So in the virtual bootcamp, we used Google Drive, and the documents were shared on Google Drive, and people were able to type and to write directly on the documents. And the last tool, once we do that, we go to a Reman checklist, which helps asking the right question when we would like to start remanufacturing in terms of market potential, in terms of product and production, and in terms of business. So there is a set of yes/no questions, and when a question is to be yes, it is something. It is one strength of the company toward remanufacturing. So there is another tool that allows to investigate what should be done in terms of to reinforce this strength. And
Help me. Just a quick time check. We need to watch the time.
Yeah. Okay. 30 seconds. So if it's no, so it's a weakness, and another tool could, the same tool could also investigate the weaknesses and what should be done to overcome this weakness. The last branch is about dissemination, so I will speak very quickly. Maybe some of you get the information about this webinar on LinkedIn. We disseminate on LinkedIn our web page on the lab. There is a web page of the program which is in which all the partners contributed. You saw the video also, and we also designed the poster that you can see here on the top.
Okay, thank you, Helmi. Now we had to move on, and next in the program we have a company presentation. I will give floor to the Javier Bettinger. Sorry of my pronunciation, but you may introduce yourself, and you come from Ricoh Industry France. So I will give you control to share your screen. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's a good start.
Trying to find you in the list of. Let me see.
Hi, Chuko. It's Peggy. So may I introduce? It's Xavier Bettinger.
Yeah, please.
French. So he's working in Ricoh in France, and they develop a huge remanufacturing plant in the far east of France. So I think that for 4 years now, perhaps more, there is a huge work done there to try to start this new activity in France. So I let Xavier present to you what they did. Okay.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Peggy, for this introduction. Can you see my screen? Can you hear me properly? Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect. Okay, so thank you all for your invitation. I'm delighted to share with you today. Shortly, of course, as I've got only 10 minutes, and I can see that you're really late on schedule. A few words about the Ricoh's experiences on manufacturing. So, well, first, let me introduce myself, if I can. Yeah, here we are. Just try to reduce that. Yeah. So, well, my name is Xavier Bettinger. I am the director of the Business Development Office Department at Ricoh Industry France, one of the European production plants of the Ricoh Group, located in Colmar, Alsace, as mentioned by Peggy, in the Far East, so at approx, let's say, 5 hours driving from the Université Grenoble-Alpes. My team's mission is to provide sets of green-oriented solutions to support Ricoh sales companies within Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Basically, my team and I, we design processes and business models in order to take the best advantage of used printing machines and their consumables that come back from the Ricoh's customers by considering, of course, both the environmental and economic aspects. In regard to main functions, I'm also part of the Ricoh Worldwide 3R team. So 3R, of course, standing for reduce, reuse, and recycle. That is in charge of pursuing and deploying the Ricoh Group vision about recycling in Europe. And last but not least, I am responsible specifically for the expansion of one of our remanufactured program, which is called Green Line. So let me start with some very general information about the Ricoh Group. Basically, and to make it short, Ricoh is a global leader in, I would say, sophisticated office solutions. Our products include copiers, of course. I guess we are well known for that, but also projectors, interactive whiteboards, 3D printing solution as well, and also 360 cameras and many other advanced electronic devices. Our tagline today is empowering digital workplaces, which means that we want to help our customers to enhance their office productivity and therefore enable them to allocate their employees to complete more, let's say, engaging tasks. So I will not speak about all these figures. I will share the presentation later on, but I just wanted to highlight that our group invests in R&D more than 5% of its total sales, its total turnover, which is, if you consider our turnover, quite a significant amount. So of course, Ricoh is not only about copiers. That's what I mean. And so as part of this big organization, Ricoh Industrie France, in few figures, it is approx 650 employees, a turnover of approx 200 million euros. The site was created back in 1987, so more than 30 years of experience. And we started our activities circular economy oriented in 2007. As you can see, in 2007, we restart to remanufacture parts and supplies related to our copiers portfolio. And in 2012, we launched our remanufactured brand called Ricoh Green Line. So today, Ricoh Industrie France, in a nutshell, it's two main activities. It's the thermal media activity, more than two-thirds of our turnover. It's the thermal sensitive paper, Telmark paper, transfer ribbons. And as I explained before, circular economy oriented activities. We renewed parts and supplies. We remanufactured multifunctional printers with a brand called Green Line. We ensure some material recovery activities, and I would say, and so on. So here you've got a map of our different activities. I will not go into details, but just be aware that we manage, of course, the hardware, but we manage also all the materials that are as an outcomes of our production lines, and we're trying to find the most suitable and more ecological, but also economic way to manage our waste. And that's why we've got what we call a collection and also material recovery center in orange in this map. So I will give you just three inputs of our activities, and I will start first by one of our main products, which is a Green Line. Just to emphasize the fact that our Green Line production process is independently audited by the BSI, so the British Standards Institution, as compliant since 2012 to the BS 887220-2010, the process of remanufacturing specifications. This is an important evidence for a customer to prove that we've got a comprehensive remanufacturing process. And also, I enjoy to emphasize the fact that our product, of course, reduce significantly the carbon footprint of our customers, because we reuse, and I'll give you one example, the Green Line MPC 3003, we reuse 80% of the existing parts and components by white of the original product. And if we go further, we can see that we recycle. So on top of the reusing, we recycle almost 95% by white of the existing parts and components. If I say differently, it means that only 5% of the product have to be managed through waste channel that cannot be valorized in the most perfect way. I understood that in your school you speak a lot also, in university, sorry, you speak a lot also about R&D, of course, and about eco-design. So I wanted just to share an example of how a factory in Europe can support our R&D located in Japan in order to improve the efficiency of remanufacturing. And this is one very simple example of the labeling the position of hidden screws and claws. I will not go into details. I think that basically the picture speaks for itself. But as you can see, we made several marks and so on. That should, at the end of the day, improve the efficiency of dismantling work. Last but not least, the factory should be, as we call that, a live showroom, in order to emphasize our philosophy, to emphasize our approach regards to sustainability. And so that's why we've got in the middle of our workshop, we've got a showroom dedicated to SDGs, enabling us to emphasize the connection between our activities and the SDGs. And without going into too much details, of course, we are very close to the SDG number 12, because we speak here about responsible consumption and production, and also remanufacturing. But as a factory, as a production plant, also one of our main targets is a target number 9.5, which is to enhance research and upgrade industrial technologies. Because as part of a production site dedicated to recycling activities, one of our missions, of course, is to foster innovation in the production process. Because the recycling processes are, as you may know, much more complex to automatize. For instance, as used raw materials do not have the same consistent quality than the new raw materials. And that's, believe me, it's by far much easier to manufacture new products by using virgin parts than recycled ones. So that's why I speak about this target, because that's a challenge. And definitely, if I have to pick up one SDG, I will go for the goal number 9.5, because it states that we need to upgrade industrial technologies. And yes, because as part of the audience, I guess there is also some students, and definitely students are the future. So the next generation that will think about that. So I hope they will embrace also this target. Well, that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm conscious that it's extra short, but I've got only 10 minutes. I wanted to make sure that I will respect the time that you offer me today. But of course, first of all, thank you for your attention. And shall you need any further information about the RICO's remanufacturing approach, do not hesitate to contact me. You can see my references here. And yeah, thank you for your invitation.
Thank you. You were very well in time and very interesting, good presentation. And next, I give the floor to David Beck, who has something for you to do. Yes. I suppose.
Yeah. First of all, let me say bravo, Xavier. That was fantastic and so interesting. It's so good to hear about a super remanufacturing company. Thank you for that. I'd like everybody to move back to the Miro board if you can. Yeah. And what I'd like us to do is number 4, and I'd like to move to the force field analysis. That's in the general sense, that's on the right-hand side in the middle. Yeah, I can see a lot of you gathering around. You'll see a white screen with what are the drivers for reman for you and what are the barriers to develop reman. You see that? Let's give everybody a chance to come around. And what I'd like everyone to do, as it says there, simple as it says, what's driving reman for you? And by the way, I know not all of you in the webinar accompanies. It doesn't matter, because if you're an educator or a research and technology organization, what's driving Reman education, or what's driving Reman research, or what's driving Reman practice. And if, when you do the post-its, if you can remember to do a red one for the drivers and a blue one for the barriers, but it doesn't matter if you've started already. I can see somebody, PN, started already. But try and use red ones and blue ones, and you can post them up all around the place. They don't need to be on the white square. So if you need more space to write what you want to write, move them somewhere around. As long as they're red and blue, I can see then what are barriers and what are drivers. I'd like everybody to have a go at putting at least one up, and then we get a nice full board and we can see what are people thinking, what are the drivers, what are the barriers, what are things that are helping you do Reman, what is making it possible, what are the things that are stopping you doing Reman. Just take a few minutes. I'm going to do some myself. Don't forget, you can have the chance, if you see somebody else's sticky note and you want to comment on it, be polite, but you can comment on it. Everyone, I don't think, am I seeing everybody has put at least one sticky note for each thing? Try and have a go. If you've not had a go, just get stuck in there. If you don't want to post something, make a comment. Don't forget to make a comment. You do a right click over a sticky note and that will allow you to make a comment. Seeing more drivers than barriers. That's interesting. Oh no, I'm seeing, actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong way around. I'm seeing more barriers than drivers, sorry. There's a lot more barriers coming out than there are drivers. Oh, that one's moving over there. Yeah, that's it. You've got it. A couple of more minutes. Anyone else want to put any more up? And then I'll go through a few. I won't go through all of them. By the way, I don't know if everybody's realized, sometimes when you see these things, you're busy there with the snipping tool and cutting and copying and think, I'll have a look at this later. Well, you've got access to this Miro board because you're on it now. You can save the link. You can go back anytime you like. You can, if you like the look at the way the TU Delft did things, or the way Grenoble, or the way VTT, you can go back and have a look. You can take these materials, you can take the way we did it. If you're an educator or a trainer, if you're in a company, you can take these materials and use them. Of course, I always ask, it's just nice if you would reference at least the project, CareEd, EIT raw materials, maybe mention TU Delft and Grenoble and VTT, but this is Creative Commons, you know, this is open source. This is what we like, that people can use this material, and it's the same with the Miro board as well. If you find it a useful experience in the way of communicating and building and developing ideas, you can use this as well. I think Juan explained to me, he's, at least him and his wife are experts on this, and you can open it up for free and use so many licenses, but obviously if you want to use a lot of boards and you want to use it a lot, then you can set up a contract, but I don't think it's too expensive. In this case, we can have up to 100 people on the board, so we were ready to have quite a lot. Normally, of course, when you're doing this in your companies or in your organizations, you don't have 100 people. And when we were doing this with the companies, we'd often only have about 10 or 15 of us. That's fine. Good. I'm going to keep an eye on the time. And we've got a little bit of time still. I'm going to go through a few of the points that have been raised. Zoom in a bit. Let's look at some of the drivers. So one that jumps out to me straight away is whenever I see cost and price, that's interesting. So somebody's posted up environmental impact cost, meeting customer requirements at a low price. So where we saw in the video earlier on, you know, 20 to 40% lower price to customer, sometimes that can be really give a company a competitive advantage. Of course, one of the things that a lot of companies say is, it's an awful expression, but they talk about market cannibalization. So you move into remanufacturing, then what does it do to your original equipment manufacturing market? Well, of course, as we did in our business canvas exercise when we went through with the companies, we said to people, think carefully about your market segmentation. Which markets are you going to offer reman to, and which markets are you going to continue to offer your original equipment to? And they can be different markets. But yes, lower price can be a really useful thing, and especially in the market as it is today, anyone coming in with 20 to 40% lower cost price product is going to have a competitive advantage. I see as well, somebody's mentioned product service systems. Yeah, that's a wider example of a circular economy thinking. That's the business model, perhaps the offering a product and a service. That's really interesting, and that came out in some of our boot camps as well. Let's look at some of the barriers, and there's a lot of those we can see. High investment to start activities. I think that was one of the biggest things that, because I was quite ambitious in the boot camps I was running and talking to people about setting up a reman. And if you looked at Xavier's presentation just now, the first thing that struck me is, look at that facility. I mean, we didn't need anyone who's in business and understands how factories work. You don't need to walk around inside to know what investment Rico has made in building that facility. You can put a number in your head and you probably plus or minus 10% would be right. And that is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So the high investment to start activities is there. All I can say on that is, number one, the earlier you start planning for that, the easier it would be. Number two, you need to have a really good business model. And that's why, for example, we use the business model canvas to help you build up the case of the revenues, because obviously high investment is not a problem if there's high revenue. And trust me, the reman companies, I've worked in reman in industry myself, other companies and partners that we work with, they make high investment and they have high, good return on their capital investment. It does work. But when you go in your company and you say to the seniors in the business, I would like to find tens of millions of euros to do this, they're kind of like, whoa, we need more information before we're going to commit. One of the issues that I've seen cropping up as well in this is assets collection from the end user, the return, what's known in the reman speak as core return. How do you get stuff back to do your remanufacturing? When is it coming back? How is it coming back? Major issues, and I don't have the time to go into detail about reverse logistics and how that works, but it's a major issue. there are solutions. And again, in the boot camps, we start to explore some of those solutions. How can get, yeah, again, there's another sticky note there. How can I get hold of product that can be remanufactured? Where are they and how do I get them back? As you saw from them, and this is the beauty of having the RICO example, you saw they were not only thinking about how do we get the cores back, they were thinking about how do we design the core in the first place to make sure that it works. We optimize the design of the product for remanufacturing. I worked in the aerospace sector. We did that from the get-go. We designed the original equipment product. It was designed for reman from the start. Now, that might be a second step for a lot of businesses, because obviously redesign also is a high investment activity, but it's really important. Yeah, so there's some good, I think that I'm going to close off the debate. I can see that we've got a rich scene of comments here, and we'll capture all these comments, and a lot of this will end up in our final reports as well. I think there's some really interesting, yeah, and I can see over and over again, it's the guaranteed supply of old units. In other words, the return of cores. That's the thing that worries a lot of companies, and quite rightly so, because if you think about it, return of product for remanufacturing is the same as securing your supply chain for parts for manufacturing. It's the same, because if you don't get the component back as a core, how can you remanufacture it? You have to have it back, and you have to have, but trust us, it can be done, and it can be done well. And on that note, I'm looking at the time, and I think we've managed to get ourselves through efficient working back on time. And I know we've now got a super colleague, David Fitzsimons. I think, David, you're on the call. Are you able to speak?
Well, I am. Hello, Dave. And hello, everybody else, wherever you are this afternoon. We've all become very accustomed, haven't we, to talking to one another through screens in the past year.
Yes. And actually, David, on that note, this Miro board activity, I don't know how you're finding it, but we found this really useful. We found this really interesting, and as a way of communicating and talking to each other. But David, you're going to tell us a little bit about the Reman Council, which we've seen logos for it, but we'd love to know more and what opportunities it can give to companies. Please, the floor is yours.
Lovely. Thank you, Dave.
Would you, David, like to show us something, or?
No, I'll just talk. I'll keep it really simple.
Yeah, good.
And I'll keep it short as well.
Oh, okay, thank you. No hurry. We have time.
Okay, well, it's very nice from my point of view to be participating in this event, because I'm so confident in the researchers who've been doing this project. And why is that? Because during the European Remanufacturing Network project, the partners included the sorts of talented people who have been involved in this project, like VTT, for example. And I see that Peggy is on the call too, from Grenoble. And Grenoble were another excellent partner in that European Remanufacturing Network project. And also I should acknowledge that Regis Dando is also on the call. So great that you're there too. So what do we do? Well, after that European Remanufacturing Network project, where we calculated just how much remanufacturing activity was going on across Europe, and it was about 30 billion euros worth of activity, we wanted to carry on. The team were excellent. We wanted to carry on that work so that we didn't just drop it and leave it as a website for information to pick up in the future. And that's why we created in early 2017 the European Remanufacturing Network and invited companies to subscribe to be part of our work. And that's continued for the last 3 years. Our work has been with people like the World Economic Forum, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the OECD, and of course here in Brussels with the European Commission. So those companies that have joined us, I think many of them would be interested in the work that you've been doing. And that's partly why I thought it'd be useful to contribute to your event today. Because what happens next is the question, really. Always, with any research project, is all this effort, what's been created and how do we take it forward? And it struck me so often over the last 3 years talking to member companies that even when they're doing remanufacturing in the way that I thought that Xavier did very well for us, showing what RICO have been doing for many years now, for many companies, they still have the difficulty internally of convincing others that remanufacturing, extending remanufacturing, starting with a new product is difficult. They've still got to convince people. So I thought as well, Anita's introduction to how she needed to speak to her colleagues about remanufacturing, that the bootcamp idea worked well internally and not just looking for companies externally who are not doing any remanufacturing at all. So I do think this the bootcamp idea has value for companies who are already remanufacturing or are close to it, or those who are perhaps refurbishing or reusing, or at least on the first few steps towards the highest level of product life extension, which is remanufacturing. And I like the way in which you've gone about testing the feasibility of those ideas, which is everything. Are we bringing people together and checking whether our ideas are worthwhile or not from a financial point of view or a business strategy point of view? And your use of Miro as well is something that we were using for the World Economic Forum quite recently, and it worked very well there too. So look, congratulations. I think the work that you've explained today is first rate, useful, and I look forward to talking to you, Dave, and your colleagues about how we might take this forward in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. I'm good. No, thank you, David. And I'm just putting, if you're on the Miro still, just put a few things up there just for us to have a look at. You see, I put 3 things up. One, I put a link to the ERN project, which is there, and there's reports and things on there. More importantly, I put a link up to the Reman Council, which is what David was talking about just now, so you can click on that. Have a look at that. I really recommend, if you've not heard of it or you have heard of it and you want to revisit, have a look. I put another slide up which I present regularly, and forgive me, David, if I'm out of date, because the figures might even be better by now, but anyway, I always use this, where we say, you know, the ambition, what could we do? I still say this 2030 100 billion euros, that's too conservative. I think it's way more than that. I think we can go much higher than that in terms of opportunity. So have a look. And one of the things, David, that cropped up in one of our boot camps was one company turned around and said to us, you know, what we'd really like is to do some benchmarking on Reman. And we'd like to have maybe an organization that could help and facilitate with other partners and members in different sectors, obviously, so they're not competitive sectors, completely different sectors. But then we could benchmark on how they go about doing Reman, and then we could learn from each other and develop Reman ourselves. So maybe that's an opportunity that the council could get involved with, but again, that's your decision, not mine. But I thought the benchmarking idea was really interesting and something that would be worth exploring. As I've said already, and I think I'm now, I'm just checking the agenda here. I'm moving into closing the webinar now, and I just want to say a few final words. I've said already, and I reiterate again, this Miro board is there for all of us. We'll keep. The only thing I ask is, if you go in, don't move stuff around too much, because obviously you have the power to move all our sticky notes around. Try and leave it as it is, but you can visit it. What you can do, as I've said, if you like what's going on, and Helmi's, thank you, Helmi, you're connecting things together. It's beautiful. If you like what's going on, you like what we've been doing, you want to use this in your own organizations for anything, feel free to do so. I'll stress it again, it's there for you to use. If you can, just reference CareEd project, our funders and our partners, just to mention that we helped create some of this. But it's there, Creative Commons, for everybody to use. And we really do want to see an opportunity as well for organizations, especially the companies in the call today, to have a look at the Reman Council, have a think about what you might want to have a conversation with David. All the links are there on the website. You can follow up. We, of course, as partners, are always there for you. And if anyone is here from, especially from Finland or France or Netherlands, sorry, I've forgotten our fourth country. It's getting near the end of the week. I'm getting tired. But have a look. We're always there for you. You can always contact us anyway if you want more information. The sad news is this is one of the last events in CareEd that we're running this in the life of CareEd. So it closes out as the year ends. But the good news is we have ambition to develop more things together. So watch this space, because we'll communicate with you if we're doing new things as they develop, and it may take a little while just to get them together, but we'll communicate with you with our LinkedIn, Twitter, our websites, and so on and so forth, in partnership, I hope, with the Reman Council. We'll communicate with you new things that we're doing and that we want to develop. If there's any final points from my colleagues, then you're more than welcome. But I notice we're in good time. Anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that we are looking forward also the cooperation with different parties. We of course continue offering this bootcamp concept in future for the companies, but also cooperation for educators and consults and everyone who wants to improve the use of remanufacturing. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the one thing I think we all discussed that we found in our boot camps was a lot of the companies who thought they knew a lot about remanufacturing and they thought they understood it quite well. When we started getting into the details of some of the issues, they began to realize there was a lot of gaps in their knowledge, and they had a lot of work ahead of them to develop and fill those gaps. What was reassuring is there's a lot of information and knowledge out there to help fill those gaps. But yeah, they thought they understood it pretty well, and then as they went through it more, there was like, so some fundamental understanding things. So in that way, it's been a real success, and I'm really happy. I also stress as well, and Helmi raised this, he was using information and knowledge from previous projects like Reman Path. And again, those templates, they're available on the Reman Path site, but actually you can see them on the Miro board here. So again, if you like those, you can see them there and you can use them and develop workshops of your own or brainstorming groups or activities or whatever you want to do. Good. I think unless there's more that anyone needs to say and wants to say, I'm going to draw the webinar to a close. I thank, number one, our funders, of course, EIT Raw Materials. I thank all my colleagues who have helped make this such a success. But most of all, I thank all of you for giving up your time on a Friday afternoon to come and join this webinar and work with us and do work yourselves by posting up and helping us make it a success. So I'm going to close the webinar now. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and it will be a Happy New Year. Thank you very much.